Welcome again to HUD's training on how to prepare and review rent comparability studies. As I mentioned in the first session, new instructions were published in November 2016, and these training sessions are designed to provide appraisers, owners, and reviewers with an overview of that process. This is the third of 4 sessions, and today we'll cover Section 914 of the Section 8 Renewal Policy Guide. One note, if anything said today or in these slides contradicts what's in the guide, the language in the guide controls. Before we move on to Session 3, let's take just a minute to review the takeaways from Session 2. I hope that, number 1, you have a better understanding of the procedures to follow if there are insufficient comps in the area. Number 2, I hope you see the difference between valuing services that are paid for separately by the tenant and those included in the tenant's rent. Finally, I hope you're better aware of some of the special issues, errors, items that we hope appraisers will pay particular attention to when preparing RCSs in the future. I'd like to take just a minute to remind you of a few terms we will see throughout this training. MARA. It stands for the Multifamily Assisted Housing Reform and Affordability Act. Guide refers to the Section 8 Renewal Policy Guide. RCS is the Rent Comparability Study. FMR, or Fair Market Rents. AE refers to the HUD staff person who is the account executive. USPAP is the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practices. And CA stands for Contract Administrators. This session is not going to be as intense as Session 2, but we're going to cover the following subjects. What is a HUD-commissioned RCS? What are project rents versus census median rents? What is the relationship between map appraisals, FHA map appraisals, and the HUD-commissioned RCS? What to do when the census number is 0, and how do you calculate rents? As I mentioned in previous sessions, most of the material in this chapter is not new. This session is simply a reminder of the requirements in the guide and hopefully to make it easier for you. In the next 10-15 minutes, I'd like you to take away 3 answers to the following questions. When is a HUD-commissioned RCS required? How do I, as an appraiser, identify a project's median rent? And when can I use a lender-ordered map appraisal? Okay, let's jump right into when a HUD-commissioned RCS is required. The mandatory test applies to any owner rent comparability study where the project's median rent exceeds 140% of the median gross rent by zip code tabulation area. That's a lot, except for those related to the mark-to-market program. Now, when the owner submits the RCS, it must include the subject's project's median rent. We have 3 steps that you, the appraiser, will need to take to determine if a HUD-commissioned RCS is really necessary. First, you need to compute the subject's median rent as determined by the RCS. Second, you need to identify the 140% median gross rent for the subject project's zip code. And last, you'll need to compare the project's median rent to the 140% of census median gross rent from the table. We'll go into a little bit more detail in the next few slides on each one of these subjects. The first step is the process to identify the rental rate in the middle of the distribution of the RCS. Sounds more complicated than it really is, so let me show you an example that I hope will clarify what we're talking about. This project has 25 units. The median rent for the project is computed by taking the total number of units, adding 1, and dividing by 2. In this case, the project has 25 units. You add 1, you get 26 units. You divide it by 2, you get the 13th unit. So the rent, in this case, the rent of the 13th unit is $1,200. Simple, hopefully. In this example, you have a project that has an even number of units, 26 units. The median rent here, a little bit more difficult, but not really, will be obtained by taking the average of the rents for the 13th and the 14th unit. In this case, the rent for the 13th unit is $1,200, and the rent for the 14th unit is $1,900. You add $1,200, $1,900, and divide by 2 with a result of $1,550. Now, just to double check that I've made this clear to everybody, let's do a little checkup. This project, in this example, has 89 units. The median rent is computed by taking the total number of units, adding 1, and dividing by 2. In this case, you've got 89 units, you add 1, and you divide by 2. So the rent of the blank unit is blank. I'll give you just a minute to do the math. Okay, it's been less than a minute, but this project has 89 units. The median rent is computed by taking the total number of units, adding 1, and dividing by 2. In this case, 1 plus 89 is 90, divided by 2, determine the rent of the 45th unit, or $1,121. This slide contains the information on the median zip code information you'll need, and it's readily available on the Section 8 renewal website. A later slide will have all of those links together in one place. Now, this information on the median rent is updated annually, usually in the middle of December, because that's when the numbers come out from Census. You can identify the 140% median gross rent threshold for the subject by scrolling down the table to locate the project's 5-digit zip code. The number in the table is the 140% number, so you don't have to do any multiplication or any math to determine what that number is. If the project is located in more than one zip code, and sometimes it is, you can use the highest number that's in the table. So if the project's median rent does not exceed 140%, then no HUD commissioned RCS is required. However, if the project's median rent does exceed 140%, then a HUD commissioned RCS is required. Let's take a look quickly at an example. Lakeview Apartments, made-up name, has a gross median rent, including utilities, of $1,150. You, as the appraiser, know that the project is located in zip code 30501 in Gainesville, Georgia. You scroll down the census table, as you can see in this one, to zip code 30501 and see that the 140% of the census median rent in that zip code is $1,060. In this case, the project's median rent exceeds the census threshold, and a HUD commissioned RCS is required. Now, in order to reduce delays resulting from the need to secure that HUD RCS, We do provide an exception to the requirement when the transaction is tied to the refinancing using FHA insurance. In this case, the FHA appraisal can be used in place of the HUD commissioned RCS, but let me remind you, only the HUD commissioned RCS. The owner still has to have his own prepared. But that HUD, the appraisal can only be used if the appraisal is ordered, paid for, and underwritten by the lender. The map appraiser must follow Chapter 9 of the Section 8 guide. Rents must be estimated both before and after repairs. The map appraiser must use the HUD Form 92273-S8. Now, appeals by the lender to processing the regional center and satellite offices. No appeals go to headquarters. Use the lender supplied appraisal and the HUD S8 for comparison with the owner's RCS. Last, you have to follow the most current use PAP, and remember it can only be used in lieu of the HUD commission study, not in lieu of the owner's. If a HUD commission study is required, HUD must review the HUD study to determine if all the information was submitted. Now, the owner can request a copy of the HUD commissioned RCS for information purposes and can comment on any factual discrepancies they find. HUD will review if any factual discrepancies are identified in the document. Factual discrepancies are items like math in the rent grid is wrong, rather than the owner does not like the appraiser's comparable selection. There are no negotiations allowed nor appeal of the rent determination when the rents are determined using this method. For your information, HUD or the contract administrator will determine the market rent based on the following calculations. These were formerly used only in markup to market. If the HUD comparable gross rent in its study is greater than the rent in the owner's study, then the final comparable market rents are set at the owner's comparable market rents. If the owner's comparable rent is less than 105% of the HUD number, then the final comparable market rent will be set at the owner's comparable market rent. If the owner's comparable gross rent is equal to or greater than 105% of the HUD comparable gross rent number, then the final comparable market rents are set at 105% of the HUD comparable gross rent. As an appraiser, you don't have to calculate the final rent. HUD or the contract administrator will make these calculations. There are a few zip codes in the country where the median rent is 0. Most of these are non-populated zip codes. However, if you scroll down the list and find your project is located in one of them, then we have developed an alternative procedure to determine if a HUD commissioned RCS is needed. In these cases, no HUD commissioned RCS is required if the project's median rent is less than 105% of the current rent. So you take the estimated increase. If it's less than 5%, no study is necessary. The final comparable rent is set at the owner's RCS. A HUD commissioned RCS will, however, be required if the project's median rent is equal to or greater than 105% of the current HAP contract. If so, then the final comparable market rent is set by the procedure that we outlined above and is contained in Section 9-14 of the Renewal Guide. Now, some of you may remember in 2016, the census median rents were capped at $2,000 for some zip codes, usually in the Northeast and the far West. A few regions had numerous projects with rents that exceeded that number, which caused an increase in the number of HUD-commissioned rent comp studies. We hope that that problem was somewhat rectified in December of last year when the new census medians were published and the numbers were higher across the board. When we began this session, I indicated there were 3 takeaways. Now I hope, 1, you have a better understanding of when a HUD-commissioned RCS is required. 2, I hope you understand the mathematical process for identifying a project's median rent. And last, I hope you know when a lender-ordered map appraisal can be used in lieu of the HUD-commissioned rent study. This slide contains the link to all of the information on Section 8 contract renewals, including Chapter 9 and its appendices. Thank you for your attention today. There are 3 other sessions available that cover the balance of Chapter 9. And please join me for Session 4, where I'm going to cover the review of rent comparability studies submitted by owners and their appraisers.